and welcome to Wineskins, a program featuring reflections on the lives of the saints and the sacred scriptures, along with a variety of topics and issues from a Catholic perspective. I'm your host, Father Jim Korda. Our show is sponsored by the annual Bishop's Appeal, the Catholic Communication Campaign, and St. Paul's Catholic Books and Gifts, a division of the Society of St. Paul. On our show today, I will interview Jessica Robinson from St. Vincent de Paul Society. We will also hear more about the life of St. Stephen and the readings for this fourth Sunday of Advent. That and more on Wineskins. Catholic Charities is an important part of the life of the Church and her members. To tell us more is Nicole Kelley.
The holidays are supposed to be a time of joy and celebration. However, for some people, they are anything but. Stress and anxiety may cause people to experience loneliness and lack of fulfillment. For many of the people that Catholic Charities serves, they may experience the anxieties of the holidays on top of life's daily struggles. Many people will still struggle with how to pay the rent, a utility bill, how to put food on their table, or worry about how to buy their children Christmas presents. Still others worry about how they will pay for their prescription medication or how they will get transportation to their next doctor's appointment. For Catholic Charities staff members, these struggles are real because we deal with them every day, whether it is the holiday season or not. But it is not hopeless. We can help. That is why we do what we do, because we know that we are making a difference in the lives of others. We provide help and hope during the holidays and every day. However, we can't do that without you. So as you are sitting around enjoying the warmth of a fire, the company of good friends and family, or a good meal, think about what it means to you to provide help and hope to those in need. What are you going to do to help others around you? I work in the administrative offices for Catholic Charities. I provide support to the 3 agencies in the 6 counties that we serve. I am responsible for finding funding sources to support the agencies in the work that we do. I write grants as a resource for income. I plan fundraising events and other special projects to promote the work that Catholic Charities does out in the communities. Another large part of my job is to update and monitor the organization's website. We keep a lot of very helpful information on our website. If you have not visited before, you should. The address is www.ccdoy.org. We keep our website up to date and have special events, program information, and other important news events to keep employees, clients, and donors up to date. Social media is also an important part of keeping everyone current in a very timely fashion. Catholic Charities is on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. Social media is one of the fastest growing industries in the world. That means that most of our employees, clients, and donors will use one of these platforms throughout the week. We post several times per week on each one of these social media pages. If you have not visited any of these social media sites, maybe it is time that you do. You could like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter or Instagram, pin us on Pinterest, or do all of the above. We would love to have more interaction in the new year and watch our social media venues grow. We love comments and suggestions. We want you to interact with us. We can only do so much without you. So I ask again, what are you going to do to help others around you? Here are a few suggestions. You can learn more about the issues that impact the human family by visiting our website or by following us on our social media venues. You could share what you have learned with a friend or relative. You could find out how you could volunteer or get involved to help. There are many opportunities available throughout the year. Pray that we respond compassionately to those we encounter who need our assistance. And pray for those living in poverty, that they may find the help and hope they need to overcome their despairing situations. At this time, I wish to thank you for all of your support and dedication to Catholic Charities in the Diocese of Youngstown. We cannot do what we do without all of you. I wish all of you a joyful, bright, and a very Merry Christmas and a blessed New Year from our hearts to yours. For Wineskins, this is Nicole Kelley.
The Feast of St. Stephen is celebrated on Tuesday. To tell us more about this first martyr of the early church is Tom Anderson. He is from St. Charles Church in Boardman.
The Feast of St. Stephen, which is listed in the Martyrology of Nicodemia in 361, has been celebrated in the West since the 5th century. However, the date of the feast at Constantinople was fixed at December 26th. St. Stephen was a deacon in the early church and had been assigned by the apostles to distribute food to the poor. We read in the Acts of the Apostles that he worked great signs and wonders among the people, and that certain Jews would engage him in argument, but he always confounded them with his wisdom. Ultimately, they made false charges against him, brought in false witnesses, and succeeded in having him stoned to death. The relics of St. Stephen were discovered near the north gate of the city of Jerusalem, and the Bishop of Jerusalem had the relics transferred to St. Sion near the cenacle. Later, a basilica was constructed in his honor, and the relics were transferred there in 439. The basilica was destroyed by the Persians in 614 and eventually replaced by an oratory. It was again destroyed in 1187. After the excavations in 1882, the church was rebuilt and consecrated in 1900. It stands near the École Biblique of the Dominicans. The distribution of St. Stephen's relics to Prague, Northern Africa, Constantinople, and Rome has served to foster devotion to this saint. The Church of St. Stephen in Rome is one of the Lenten station churches. In the opening prayer at Mass, we ask that we may love our enemies in imitation of St. Stephen, who prayed for his persecutors. St. Augustine pointed out that this saint had the privilege of having his martyrdom described in the Acts of the Apostles, chapters 6 and 7. In many ways, his court trial and martyrdom were similar to what Christ experienced during his Passion. The first antiphon for the Office of Readings states that during his martyrdom, Stephen looked to heaven and saw the glory of God and Jesus standing at the right hand of the Father. Likewise, in the prayer we find the theme of forgiving one's enemies, as Jesus did as he was dying on the cross. Stephen is therefore a representative of the original martyr, Jesus. His charity extended not only to the poor whom he served as a deacon, but also his persecutors. The prayer after communion relates the martyrdom of Stephen to the Christmas season, and this is further developed in the Office of Readings. The love that brought Christ from heaven to earth raised Stephen from earth to heaven. Love was Stephen's weapon by which he gained every battle. Love inspired him to reprove those who erred, to make them amend. Love led him to pray for those who stoned him, to save them from punishment. Christ made love the stairway that would enable all Christians to climb to heaven. Hold fast to it, therefore, in all sincerity. Give one additional practical proof of it, and by your progress in it, make your ascent together. Stephen is the patron of all deacons, teaching them to serve others out of love and to remain ever faithful in the defense of Christ's teachings. For Wineskins, I'm Tom Anderson.
With me again is Jessica Robinson, who is the Executive Director of the St. Vincent de Paul Society in Mahoning County. It's a pleasure to have you back on the show again.
Thanks for having me.
When you were with us last month, we heard about the new location and the wonderful services provided through St. Vincent de Paul to many people. Let's begin our time together by letting the folks know again where you're located and the hours of the service.
Sure. So our new dining hall location is at 252 East Wood Street, and that's in Youngstown in the basement of St. Cyril Methodius Church. And our service time is serving lunch from 11 to 12:30 Monday through Friday. And on Saturdays, we have a breakfast from 10 to 11 a.m.
Let's talk. Last time we were together, we talked about the volunteers, and I'd like to kind of end up with that again because I think they're very crucial to your ministry and to what St. Vincent de Paul does. But let's talk about what other people who actually don't come physically to help you on a daily basis, what can they do? What can the larger community do?
Sure. So the general community is quite crucial to how successful we are. We are always in need of monetary donations, and that sounds pretty general, but it comes down to that because we need to keep the lights on. We need the utilities paid. We need to make sure that we can provide those meals that are given to these folks on the daily. So monetary donations are always necessary, but also physical donations. The holidays are among us. The need is always going up. So with that being said, we are always in need of canned goods. Even the larger cans our dining hall can use, the number 10 cans. Sure. But our food pantry always needs canned goods. So the general community can always donate those simple items, and it will really benefit us and really help us out.
Are there any surprises that in your time there that you've noticed or that come to mind when you talk about how the community gets involved and what they do to help St. Vincent de Paul?
Yes, I mean, they surprise me all the time. They come through for us when we need them most. At our old location, the reason we had to leave was due to flooding and ceilings caving in. During those times, just general groups from the community, small businesses, they really pulled through for us, and they were there for us when we needed food to serve out in the parking lot across from our location. Subway came through for us, and they provided sandwiches, So just simple businesses like that, they really surprise us, and they always show up for us when we need them.
That's great. Let's talk about St. Vincent de Paul down the road. You had mentioned, if I remember in the last interview, that it would be wonderful if St. Vincent de Paul didn't have to be there because everyone would be fed.
Yes.
But that obviously is not the reality nowadays. So what would be the future hope or kind of future goals of St. Vincent de Paul?
Growth. It's a simple answer of growth. I hope to see in the near future that we grow out to Ashtabula. It's a lot of rural farmland, and it's families out there that if their crops don't go the right way, they need us. So I would love to get out to Ashtabula in the near future. We would like to go out to Canton in the near future. But right now we still want to grow in Youngstown. We want to grow in Warren, So those areas come first, and then we will definitely be out in those other areas in the future.
It's interesting because I remember something that Jesus said in the Bible is that the poor you will always have with you. Mm-hmm. And so that seems to be the reality in our world today. And I've spoken with many people who work in Catholic Charities, for example, up in Ashtabula.
Right.
The need is extremely great there.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's really a call, I think, through St. Vincent de Paul to get more of a rallying among the parishes and get them involved. What would be some of the grassroots things that you think you could do or you would like to do in order to build on what's happening not only in Mahoning and Trumbull County, but in the diocese?
I think we need to set our roots a little bit more. I think we need to really grow as parishes as well. We're always looking for new membership within our parish conferences. I think it's very important to be active in your parish, and then it'll grow out to us as the St. Vincent de Paul Society. So see if you can join your St. Vincent de Paul conference. See what they need, because it starts with our conferences, and the conferences make up the district. So I definitely think we need to plant our roots a little bit deeper before we can get out to those other areas. But like you said, we need to rally up those parishes because they are what we set our roots in.
I'd like to mention something to the folks that are with us. Obviously, radio is not a visual medium, but for the folks that are listening, you are a young person.
Yes.
How do you get more young people involved in these conferences? As I look at many of the parishes that I've been in and help at, they're the more seasoned people that are part of these organizations. How do you reach out to the young people to kind of carry on the wonderful work that the older people did?
We say that all the time, and I think it's part of just getting out there. We are really focusing on showing up at the schools. We want to focus on showing up at the universities because a lot of people just don't know we're here, and so by getting ourselves out there and letting them know what we do, I think the younger crowds are willing to jump on. I think they're willing to do what needs to be done to help the general community come up. And so I think they're willing and abled, and that's what we need. So it's just about getting out there to the schools and universities.
We know that this past summer and fall, we experience in our country and in the Caribbean some very devastating effects of Mother Nature.
Yes.
Did St. Vincent de Paul Society, were they instrumental in any of that in helping?
Yes, we actually took a group of 6 people and we went and visited Texas for Hurricane Harvey. We collected for over 3 weeks here in the valley, and I think that was one of those surprises of people coming together and really showing up for us. We were able to fill a U-Haul truck from top to bottom and probably a little overpacked, but we made it there. And it was quite a heart-wrenching but humbling experience. So it was important, and it was something that we did together.
Let's talk again about the volunteers, because you really can't do what you do without the folks that come on a daily basis.
Correct.
Are there people, first of all, who come every day? Are there those people who help you all the time?
Yes,
Let's
and
talk
they come out of the woodwork. They come out of nowhere when they do show up, but then they don't leave us. They become part of our family. They are so important, and our dedicated volunteers are the people that we truly appreciate, but any volunteer is who we really appreciate as well. But yeah, we definitely have those dedicated ones that they just find the passion in them, usually after retirement. Sometimes they have an early retirement and they just want something to do. But honestly, just anybody show up. Sometimes I have university teachers that will come down when they don't have a class and they'll stay for an hour and mash up some mashed potatoes, but then they'll take off, But they're still dedicated volunteers and they'll come help, and that's what's important.
Any website or any way that they can contact St. Vincent de Paul?
Yes, so you can definitely visit our website. It's stvincentneo.org, and there's a volunteer link on there, and you can set up whatever day and time you would like to come.
In closing, Jessica Robinson, please tell us again about the location and the hours of service.
Sure. So our new location for the kitchen is 252 East Wood Street, and that's in the basement of St. Cyril and Methodius, and those hours are from 11 to 12:30, Monday through Friday for a lunch, and Saturday we serve breakfast from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m.
Jessica, Merry Christmas to you, to the wonderful folks of St. Vincent de Paul.
Thank you.
We hope that it will be a blessed new year as you reach out to God's poor.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. For Wineskins, I'm Father Jim Korda. To receive more information on that and other issues, and to listen to Wineskins, visit the website of the Catholic Diocese of Youngstown at www.doi.org. Stay with us. We'll be back in a moment.
Hello, this is Bishop George Murray, and I want to take this opportunity to wish you and your families a very blessed Christmas season and a happy New Year. In these challenging times, we have a special opportunity in this season to count our blessings and to know that God is indeed in our midst. I am reminded of the words of the angel Gabriel spoken to Mary at her Annunciation. Nothing is impossible with God. Therefore, we pray to our Heavenly Father to grant peace to our world, joy to our hearts, and hope to our spirits. And may God's goodness be yours in abundance, especially during this holy season. God bless you.
What have you done for your marriage today?
I gave my wife a hug this morning. I told her I love her.
I did her hair this morning. I think it looks pretty good.
I cooked my husband's favorite breakfast.
I bought her an orchid.
What have I done for my marriage today? I sent my husband a love email.
I read the newspaper to my wife, and it cracked her up. But she's still laughing.
What have you done for your marriage today? Make a change for the better. Need help? Go to foryourmarriage.org, a message from the Catholic Church.
33 million Americans have descended into poverty. And as their futures fall, so does our nation's.
Our song today is by the Kellenberg Memorial High School Choir. It is from their CD entitled Upon a Midnight Clear. Our scripture reflections for this fourth Sunday of Advent will be by Father Peter Totelben. He is from St. Dominic Church in Youngstown.
The readings today give us a particular way of thinking about the imminent birth of Jesus. We read about the temple, which King David wants to build, and we read about the Annunciation to Mary. Today's readings are meant to teach us that the temple is the special place of God's presence, but that the real and everlasting temple is the body of Jesus, and our God's body is just what we celebrate at Christmas, and that members of Christ's body become living stones in this temple. In ancient times, the temple was to be a special place of God's presence. The splendor of the temple is supposed to show us how things are full of life and beauty when God is present. The solidity of the temple is supposed to remind people of God's fidelity to His people. Even the gathering of the people in the temple for worship is supposed to indicate how God's loving presence brings His family together. All in all, the temple was meant to be a little piece of paradise. It's supposed to remind us of the paradise we lost, and it's supposed to remind us of the paradise that we hope to regain. But the temple of the Old Testament, the temple that King David hoped to build, was not the definitive temple for the people of God. The real and definitive temple is the body of Jesus. You see, there's two problems with earthly temples. They're paltry relative to the glory of God, and eventually they fall apart. In our first reading, David, in his way, notices these two problems and resolves to try to do something about them. He wants to build a grand and permanent structure. A noble thought, but not an accurate one. In comparison with God, the grandest temple that David could build would hardly be better than the tent he was replacing. In fact, it's not for David to provide for the Lord. Rather, the Lord will provide for David. The Lord makes a promise to David. David will have an eternal glorious heir and an eternal glorious temple. The real temple that God was going to build is the body of Jesus, the Son of David. The temple of the New Covenant, the true place of God's presence on earth, is the body of Jesus. This temple is the definitive one because it lacks all of the problems of temples made by human hands. The temple is a divine person, therefore adequate to the glory of God. And since it's a divine person, the temple is imperishable and everlasting. This is what we wait for with such joyful hope and expectation, the advent of our God's body, His true dwelling place on earth, His true temple. What happens in this temple when God is present? He makes things right. When Jesus walks on the earth, the blind see, the lame walk, and the poor have the good news preached to them. When Jesus gazes into the eyes of His people, He brings God's justice and mercy and God's consolation. When we look at Jesus, we get a glimpse of the Eden which we lost. We see what Adam was supposed to be like. And in Jesus, we get a glimpse of the paradise of that kingdom which we're to look forward to. And in Jesus, we see the lengths that God is willing to go to in order to bring this about. Now, this true temple, which is Jesus' body, is not a building that we're supposed to go to. It's a building that we're supposed to become a part of. For the church is Christ's body, and we are all members of it. We are living stones of the true temple of the body of Jesus. God comes to His world through us, through you and me. That's our vocation as Christians. And the perfect example of this, of course, is Mary. And that's why we read about her in the gospel today. Of all of the adornments of the temple of God, she is the loveliest, the most beautiful. Jesus turned her into His temple, and because of this action of God in her life, she was able to turn her heart to the Lord, and she was able to turn in mercy and compassion toward others. Today, we can ask for her intercession so that we can become more lovely, more beautiful stones in the temple of God. For Wineskins, I'm Father Peter Totelben.
Like Mary, we can give ourselves to God and to others. From that will come the satisfaction of knowing that you have given the best gift of all. To know that is worth more than all the prestige and power in the world. Wineskins is made possible by the annual Bishop's Appeal, the Catholic Communication Campaign, and St. Paul's Catholic Books and Gifts. The program is produced by CTNY, the Catholic Telecommunications Network of Youngstown. I'm your host, Father Jim Korda, wishing you a blessed Sunday and a Merry Christmas and a safe holiday week.